Hello, everyone. I'm Mike from the AI Art Magazine, and I'm super happy to have or to introduce our guest, Kevin Cardosa, today. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm super happy to have you. So I think probably everyone who's going to watch the stream live or later on knows about you, knows who you are. But maybe you can maybe you can introduce yourself anyway and tell us also a bit about your artistic journey.
Yeah. So I'm Kavan Cardoza, better known on the internet world of as Kavan the Kid. I come from, an extensive background in film and television and primarily like music videos was where I, kind of got my start. Then I moved into photography, did a lot of conceptual photography. I put out a book called Stay Inside and Don't Let the Dreams Out back in 2019. Well, actually, it came out in 2020, but I was building the project in 2019. Very odd. I didn't foresee the future that like I called it that. And then as terrible as it was, what happened in 2020. And then,
So it's not that you're some oracle that already felt
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then from there, moved into the AI space in roughly, I think it was like end of 2021. And then I've been in the AI space since, just, as the tools have progressed, just being able to explore with those. I think I started first with Mid Journey. I can't remember which version it was. Whatever was, I think it was 3 or 3 point something a long time ago, where and it was like more of a party trick you'd show your friends, like, hey, I'll type this in and we can see something, and it won't look very good, but it'll be fun. And we just, I saw the, like with all tech, I knew that it was going to advance over time and get better, so I saw that as like an avenue. And then once the video tools started coming out, I think the first one I really started messing with was Runway Gen 2, and just starting to build projects and stories. And then it grew from there. And then in this year of 2024, the growth that we saw through the tech was able to help us expand on telling stories as well, because it went from very subtle movement in images into, next thing you know, we've got full human fidelity and all of this movement. And now, like with the advancements that are coming out this, like literally this week, or have rolled out this week, I mean, it just sets us up for 2025 to be so exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. May I ask where does the name Kevin the Kid come from?
It was just, a music video. Like when I was making music videos, I worked with a lot of like rappers and different musicians. And so wanted like just like kind of a cool name to go. And this is obviously when I was like 21 years old. So I was a kid and like have like a little music video handle name to go at the end. And so that's kind of what I, had. And so that was the moniker that was made, was Kavan the Kid. And, little homage to like Billy the Kid, like Wild West, doing things a little different, a little crazy. So that was where it originated from. I make the joke all the time to my close friends that I need to change it to Kavan the Adult.
Well, it's a good idea to have this youth like forever kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah. No, I accidentally locked myself into to always having a youth aesthetic, hopefully.
Yeah, that's exciting. So you just touched your work, stay inside and don't let your dreams come out. Obviously, I wanted to ask you a bit about that because you contributed that to our magazine. We are so happy
Yeah, yeah.
that we were able to print a couple of images out of this, and they're so stunning. I would, if you don't mind, I would also share. Maybe we can zoom in a bit.
Yep. So those, when I made the book, I decided, this year I was going to make like a short film. I wanted to be like very conceptual, very different, and kind of, surrealism, strange. And so that's where I got the idea of just taking the images from my book and making it into a film, and kind of weaving a little narrative through it, but mostly kind of focusing on the surrealistic images and stuff. So all of these images are created in AI, but I use the images I shot in photography as the reference images in my prompting, so that I would get essentially the same result, but like a little bit different, and then that way I could also keep it stylistically the same for like, it's 5 chapters. So each chapter I wanted aesthetically to still have the same vibe. Whereas in the book, color grading, things of that nature, they all kind of vary pretty drastically. So I was trying to give it a little bit more uniform. But yeah, like that's what we did, and then or what I did, and the story is kind of, it's pretty dark. But when I made that book, it was definitely, kind of a reflection of things that I'd gone through in my past, like that were just like darker times in my life, and then transferred that into art. And I did the same, wanted to try and like bring that into like a live action video story sense. And so we kind of followed this guy as he's descending into madness, and then so that's like the stuff that's in black and white, and then the stuff that's all in color is kind of like the internal struggle and battles that he's going through in his head.
I mean, this is so strong and so strong imagery. I really love it. I can't remember how many times I already clicked it. I watched it. So,
I appreciate it.
what one thing that would be interesting for me. I mean, there's a lot of emotions inside, and not the shiny, as you already mentioned, not the shiny happy part of life, but also anger and sadness and so on. And I think this is something that I've seen in more of your works. Is there anything you can tell us about working with emotions and AI, or storytelling and emotions?
Yeah. I mean, I think, the way I look at AI is just simply as a tool to express things that at times I might not have been able to express, at least when we get to the video side of things, primarily for a budgetary reason.
Mm.
It's the same reason why I got into photography, because I knew I could do a lot more from photography in the aspects of I could, shoot a photo. I I've spent a lot of time, really mastering Photoshop to the best of my ability, and being able to kind of do what now AI can do before AI, of being able to take myself, a lot of like photos I would shoot in my, like the images of myself that are in those, I'd shoot in just my apartment at the time that I was living in. And then the base images would be when I would be out and about in the world, and shoot those. And then there's a mixture of combining it all into one, and then adding additional assets and things like that. So then once AI happened, you're able to take those emotions and things, and be able to craft them and build them. Like for instance with Stay Inside, if I was to go make that short film in live action, the budget would have been you know massive. It would have been so much that, like, there's no way, like, as a passion project, like, I'm going to go spend that kind of money just to go make a passion project. So it's like that, those kind of doors open for you with AI and being able to tell those stories. And when it comes to the emotion element, like actually pulling from it, it's just drawing from, at least for me, I think it's different for every person. And in that particular project, it's drawing from past experiences, things that have happened in my life, but then adding a surrealistic twist to them. So it's not, so literal and on the nose. It's more of this like weird kind of dark fantasy that you go
Mm.
through.
And on a technical point, is it hard to generate those emotions with AI? Because I think there is a lot of there seems to be some bias inside the tools to create more like the shiny, happy side of life with glad people and nice weather.
Yeah.
So do you have to twist the tools a little bit in order to get this kind of emotions out?
I don't think so. I mean, but I also just always kind of preferred a little bit of like a darker vibe, and a lot of my work. I mean, up until just our most recent project, we put out Time Vice. Everything's usually like more darker aesthetic. Even like when we did Batman, it's darker aesthetic, darker emotions, vibes. So that's just kind of like, styles that I like. So for me, it's not too hard, and I enjoy like those kind of things. But I also enjoy every now and then diving to different things, like like something like Time Vice, where it's really bright, it's really colorful, it's very tongue in cheek. We're having a lot of fun, and then also then going through other projects. But yeah, I like to just bounce around, but I
Mm.
think having the emotional element is always key. I think, no matter what story you're telling, it doesn't have to be, something sad or dark, but that's, just such a key point of storytelling, is having, a deep, rich emotional aspect to your characters. Cause I think that's what people are going to relate to.
Yeah. When you talk about the storytelling, I mean, you're generating incredibly amounts of great content. So it's really like we've been kidding, saying like you're a machine, seeing so much output, creativity output. Where do you get your inspiration in order to have this? Because I mean, it's something special, because all of your work is very thoughtful and is very deep and is always transporting something. So how do you manage to get one after the other?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, pulling from different things when it comes to like whenever in the past I've done like existing IP stuff like Power Rangers or Spawn or things like that. That just comes from being like a huge comic book nerd. Like growing up, I used to always go to the comic book store after school and read comic books, watched all the cartoons. I'm a 90s kid, so like watched all the 90s animated cartoons and things of that nature. So that's where the love, for those came. And then when it came to original ideas, a few of those are based around things that I've worked on and always wanted to conceptualize from my past, like the N Boys. That's a story that everyone always gives me crap about. I wrote a book, but I hated it because I'm not like a very good writer in a novel sense, so I deleted it all because I was just so upset with the work. But that was the N Boys, but I've always had the idea in my head. So then I was like, all right, well, it'd be cool to make this into a little concept trailer. Untold is like an epic I've been working on for like 5 years. I mean, the trailer isn't even like a real representation of what that project is. I've had to condense it so much. And then sometimes things like Those Who Remain is just me talking with my creative partner. His name's Mike Mitchell. His handle is Art is Dead AI. And like we'll be messaging on Discord and I'll just be like, yo, man, like what if we did like zombies, robots, and like a ninja Batman type character and we just mashed it all into one? And he's like, that sounds awesome. And then from there, it's funny because it starts out as something that small, almost like a Mad Libs, and then it evolves into now we have a full blown like script that we're working on for a feature film based around that project, just because of as you're generating and editing and you're making the shots, the world is building like around you. It's almost like it's just growing around you. It starts with this simplistic thing, then it's like, okay, well, where did these robots come from? Where did the zombies come from? Who is the Akuma family? And then you start filling in all of these blanks. Who is this protector character? And then it just grows and grows and grows. And like on our most recent one, Time Vice, it was the same kind of thing. We all love Grand Theft Auto Vice City. We all love, like 80s aesthetic, 80s music, and that kind of like Miami Vice vibe. But then we were like, it'd be really cool is if we added like a sci-fi element. And we also love like Guy Ritchie films, with like how he always has like cool character names in all of his movies. And they're kind of like a little comical, but little fun. So that's where we, had the idea of like making all these like fun little character names and giving these characters cool, unique backstories that are all meeting up in the city of Miami in 1985, fighting for a device that lets you go backwards in time. So
Love it.
it's just like constant, I mean, I think at the end we're just a bunch of guys playing in a sandbox, and we've just let the imagination go wild. I think the primary thing is, when you're in the industry and you're starting to do, anyone that's doing this AI stuff, and or any form of creativity, and you're wanting to go into the next level and do it at at a professional level and be paid for it and all these things. I think something we stress to maintain is you still got to like not take it serious. You have to have fun. There's there's has to be a separation between business and creativity, because once you start thinking too much on the creative side and that business element is bleeding in, I think it's going to possibly dilute the projects or make it to where you're going to be nervous about how you're going to tell the story because of how people are going to react to it. At the end of the day, you're making something that you enjoy and you have fun, and then you get to share with the world, and if they like it, that's awesome. If they don't, you just move on to the next one, make another one.
Yeah, I think many people love your work. You know that. So yeah, huge congratulations on all this amazing work you're doing.
Thank
I
you.
have to ask. I mean, you just mentioned the comic books. I have to ask for Batman. So
Oh yeah, yeah. So man, Batman was a journey. You know, the idea came from, we watched that show, The Penguin, on HBO Max, and we all loved it. I mean, Colin Farrell does such an amazing job. And we, the one, glaring thing that about the Penguin is Batman's never mentioned in it or in it, at all. So we were like, oh, that's, a little odd, but I mean, it makes sense that for the story that they were telling. But then we were like, it'd be cool is if we told the story of what was Batman doing during the events of the Penguin. And so then we started writing a script, and like I had already started generating the first scene before we had even had a script. I was like, we're gonna do Clayface. It's gonna be, he's like a master of disguise, and let's pull from the like 1980s, 1990s animated series Clayface, the 2 episodes which are titled A Feat of Clay, and we titled ours A Face of Clay. And A Feat of Clay, the animated series, involves the characters like Roland Daggett, like we had in ours. It's just they weren't a pharmaceutical company in theirs. We made some like tweaks, adjustments, changes, and all that. And then myself and Mike, wrote out the script. I wrote out the like base outline, sent it to him. Then he actually turned it into like a real script format. And then we were going back and forth and just making notes and changes on it the whole time as we're genning, because every now and then if we'd run into a technical issue that maybe wouldn't allow us to do something that we would like to, that's where that came into. Like I remember some people were like, Clayface does live in the end of ours. When he gets hit with the batarang, you see him going into the ambulance on the stretcher. He survived, but people were like, oh man, Batman would probably knock the gun out of his hand with the batarang. We tried that. We did many, many gens and it just wasn't coming out. Like without it, like us feeling like it takes you out of the project, because it then looked like too AI. And we're trying to go for as like photorealism as possible. At least that's our goal each time. And so we were like, well, you know what? It's year 2 Batman. He was aiming for the gun. He missed. He hit the guy in the shoulder. And so, like there's little tweaks like that and things. And I mean, I think when we had the original script, we kind of laughed because we were like, man, this is going to be like a 50-minute movie. And so we like had to like go through and gut a lot of pieces and still make it, make sense and all of that. So we had a whole other element where Clayface, we played more on him impersonating Bruce Wayne and like kind of turning Bruce Wayne's life upside down. There was that was like a whole nother chunk of the story that ended up not making it in, just because we were kind of set on it being 10 minutes at the most, 15, and we had that deadline in place of December 3rd, because anytime you work on these long form AI projects, you're kind of competing against all of the AI companies of when they're going to release their new tools. And, thankfully we got Batman out December 3rd, because I believe it's December 10th. Sora comes out.
Yeah, that
Then
was
a few
good
days
timing.
later,
Good timing.
yeah, Vio comes out. And then yesterday, Kling 1.6. So you're like so thankful, because if we had still been working on it, let's say right now, pretty much all of the stuff that we had gen would be obsolete. And then we'd have to go back and regen all of it, because we're not going to put out something if it's not, we all hold ourselves to a very particular standard of trying to make it the best with what the current tools are possible. So if like a new update comes out and we're halfway through a project, we'll go through and redo that project with all the new tools. So that way that we know we're at like at the current quality level that, is considered the best in the AI space. So we were very fortunate to hit our deadline and get that thing out before the onslaught of new updates came out.
So this is already the second time you unwillingly made like you saw the future, like with the stay inside.
I mean, I knew the tools were going to update, because I
Yeah.
felt like we hit a little bit of a lull period of like not any crazy updates. And I was like, no, they're about to do something real big here real soon. I just thought it was going to be the first week of January. I was like, they're going to let us all enjoy the holidays, without like all of us, like, because like I'm such an addict of the second it comes out, I want to be on it and jenning with it and all that stuff. But I'm here on Christmas vacation with my family, And I promised my family, I was like, I'm not gonna gen while I'm here. I'm gonna step away from the computer and live in the real world for a little bit before I plug back into the Matrix.
Yeah, it's amazing. But unfortunately, the movie got removed from the internet. So
It did.
I'm
Yep.
I'm super happy that I had the chance to watch it before, and was really amazing. It's really a shame you cannot see it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, a multitude of reasons why, it was pulled down. I mean, we did use copyrighted music in it because we wanted to keep it in line with the Batman. So we used the soundtrack from the movie The Batman.
Mhm.
We cloned, Robert Pattinson and Jeffrey Wright and Andy Serkis's voice. We also mimicked their likeness. But again, because we were just trying to keep it in line with the Batman universe, so it actually fit, like what the story we were telling is. This is what Batman was doing during the events of the Penguin. It was a fan project. It was all made out of love, for we just big comic book fans. It is, it's a bummer that it was pulled down, but at the same time, we fully understand it. We're not upset by it, and we're happy that as many people got to see it in the 5 or 6 days that it was that it was on the internet.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I'm one of those. So you already mentioned a couple of things that you did in Batman. Maybe you can quickly walk us a bit through the process of how you make a movie like this. I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. So, for at least when it came to creating the characters, I mean, all of it was made using Midjourney when it came to the images. We used C-refs, for Batman, for Commissioner Gordon, for Alfred, and then same like Clayface. He was just like a created character. Excuse me. Daggett, we actually based around the actor Ben Mendelsohn because we're a big fan of his work. So we used the C ref of him as well. And then like we used a lot of S refs for maintaining the style consistency throughout each of the scenes. So that way, like we wouldn't have any, crazy differences in color correction. And after that, if we did, we would just take it to Photoshop and make those corrections prior to animating. And then we went into the animating process. The primary tools used to animate Batman were Kling 1.5. We used Runway Act 1 for the facial performances. This was before Runway allowed you to do video, so this was only image, where you put your face on an image. So like when Batman's driving and talking, we had to like go in and roto his head onto an animated driving video. Would have loved Act 1 where it's at now, where you can do the video at that moment, because we spent a lot of time on some of those shots rotoing Batman's face onto his body driving the car. And yeah, and but yeah, it was primarily Kling. I think there was a little bit of Minimax for other animations. We used Runway Act 1 for the performances. We used 11 Labs for cloning the voices. Clayface's voice is a voice that's just in, all the other ones we created ourselves, but Clayface's voice I actually found in the 11 Labs library. It's called Red Velvet. And I thought it was a very unsettling, kind of creepy voice. And some of the tricks we've learned is to get the voices to sound correctly, you have to act like the characters. So, when you're Clayface, you have to like actually act in his kind of style. So then the
Mhm.
voice transfer, hits the right way. Because if I just talk like I'm talking now and then apply the, voice to voice change, it doesn't have the same influence that it does like when you actually are performing the character's voice. Same with when I was doing Batman, I was always going like, it has to be Clayface. We have to be looking at this, just like trying to like I'm the worst actor on the planet, but thankfully AI like helps me do a little bit of stuff. But we've talked about, coming in the new year, we would love to actually work with real actors
Mhm.
for the next long form project we do, and get those facial performance captures and their voices, and also like actually just use their voices as opposed to doing a voice cloning element. So then we would get the actors' natural voices.
Oh, that's super interesting. So, what do you think does this mean for the filmmaking industry, or for the, like, how will this influence these processes?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of change in the filmmaking industry, but I don't think, like, I mean, I do think we'll have like AI films. I don't think that's not going to happen. But I think, like, in the overall grand scheme of things, I think there's going to be a way that they can work together, and it be used as a tool. I know, like, when it comes to really big budget stuff, your Avengers movies and things like that, there's no denying Hollywood desperately wants to get those budgets down. They want to be able to tell those
Mm.
stories, but like spending 200 to 300 million dollars on a movie is just not practical, because then it has to go into the box office and essentially make double that to be a profitable film. And so that's a lot to ask every time you're putting out a movie. So if they can, tell those stories and get it down to 100 million, it makes it a lot more doable. And so I think that's where AI is going to have a huge step and a huge, element, especially in the I think in the, these close upcoming years is how I see it being applied. But I have no doubt this year in 2025 we'll get not just one but multiple pure AI films, generative AI films, and I think they're going to be fantastic. And then I think, it's hard to say where the true future is going, but I mean, with how you just look at just these advancements now, I mean, I've been saying this for a while, that I think by 2026 we'll have indistinguishable photorealism, perfect performance AI models, to where whatever you can go do in a movie you're going to be able to
Yeah.
do from your living room. And then, I mean, the sky's the limit. I think Hollywood will always be there, but now you're going to also have people being able to make studios from wherever they live in the world, and we're going to get this mass birth of I think fresh ideas that we are kind of, I think, like, people are really thirsty for, is just new stories, new thing, and like people being able to take risks, because the cost to make these projects is going to be so significantly smaller than it is, that people can take more risks, and it's not banking on, like, oh, this movie has to do well at the box office, we can put this out. And it's just I think going back to being a little bit more of an artistic, element, like how films kind of used to be, where it was like you get these like very like stylistically done artistic films that, some people maybe love, some people hated. And I think it'll be cool to go back to that and have, so many unique stories, and so many unique people telling these stories.
So we will be in an area, or in a time where we see more creativity and more people being enabled to produce movies and share with the world, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and I tell everyone, like, I have a lot of friends that work in the industry. I do think, I mean, look, I love AI, and I'm so beyond thankful for it. But there's, like anything with tech, there's going to be, people who are going to, like, where jobs will change or be lost, but in the same process new jobs are going to be created.
Mhm.
It's just like kind of how all technology goes whenever it advances. It usually replaces something, and but then there creates a new need for something else. So I'm constantly telling all my friends, just start playing with them, just start messing around with this stuff. It's a lot of fun, you're going to love it. And I know, every one of my friends, they've always got ideas. I'm like, you can just go tell those ideas now, you can just go do it. and
Mhm.
and there's nothing holding back anyone anymore to just go out there and tell whatever story they want to tell.
Yeah, I would be interested, like, from an artistic point of view, not so much from the film industry point of view, but more from the artistic point of view. Do you think that besides being faster in the development, being able to produce with a lower budget, like the same style kind of movie that we are producing today with traditional methods, that there will also be like new kinds of creativity and new kind of ideas that will be possible through the use of AI that we won't be able to generate today? So, do you think
Oh, for
any
sure.
new fields, new development will come up?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like in art in general, I mean, I think we're also going to go into, like, very unique. I mean, you see it already, now. I mean, there's so many artists out there that are creating such, like, and not related to like film style, like just like art in general, just like these such unique like things that I'm like, how did this come out of, like, like, where did this person get the thought to think of something like this? Like, this is
Mm.
just so wild and I love it. Like, there's so many artists that I follow right now on Instagram that every single day give me just like mass like inspiration just because of like the things that they're creating, and they're so unique. They're so abstract. Yeah, I mean, and everyone like is like now like kind of defining like a style for themselves too, which I think is really cool. Like there's a lot of people that have defined a very, like, the second you see that work, you know exactly whose work it is, and you're like, yep, I know who that is. That's amazing. That's incredible. And yeah, I mean, the space, I think every single day I discover a new person, and they're just there's just so many talented people. And then on top of that, the community is just a really cool community. I mean, I don't think there is a better community, in my opinion, on the planet. I mean, everybody is so supportive. Everybody is always trying to lift each other up. It's not like other industries I've been in before where there's like this weird gatekeeping of maybe not trying to share little tips and tricks because they want to keep it for themselves. Everybody here is just like, nope, this is how I did it. This is what I do. And like, have fun. And I just think that's so cool because I don't think people are nervous about, oh, this person's going to do this or whatever. I think they know like everyone now in this space, because it allows you to really just do whatever is in your head. And that's kind of where it shows the uniqueness about it, and like the true human element that drives this thing is because all of these different voices, all of these unique, images, videos, things that you're seeing are all coming, from a starting place, and that's up here. And that's like where the human touch and the human love is just so present in all the work.
Yeah, I love that idea. This is something that we've also seen a bit in the curation process of the magazine. Like exactly what our jury members have been saying. Like they can that you can tell by looking at a piece of art of the person who created that just wanted to play with the tool, or if he or she wanted to tell a story and had something to say. And I think that's what it really makes it special. What you just said, like 100% complies with that. So it's very very interesting to hear. We have a question from the community. There is the question: what's your vision about copyright? Since AI is
Yeah.
at a point that everything can be varianted from open source software.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's no secret that a lot of these models were, trained and at times copyrighted material for sure. But I don't think just because it's trained on that, it's just building out the machine. It's not necessarily like you're pulling from that. It's just, when you actually look into like data training and how that works, it's no different than, I think, as a human being. You go out and you're learning from different filmmakers, or you're learning from different painters, you're learning paint styles and all of this stuff. Like there's a ton of people who can go recreate a piece like a Van Gogh piece, you know
Mhm.
that's not impossible for lots of painters to learn how to do. So it's kind of the same element. Like you have to train on something in order to then go create something. Now I think where like the issue of copyright is like, if you're going to go then make try and go make the exact work as a previous artist. But I think if you use the tools to tell original stories and original ideas, it's different. But then there's also like, Moon Valley is coming out with their tool, which is what they call a clean model. They own all of the assets and everything that they trained on. And I think that's also where the future is going to be going, because I know like when it comes to Hollywood and stuff, you know a lot of the studios aren't going to probably want to work with models that have been trained on copywritten stuff. And that's why you have partnerships like, for instance, Lionsgate partnering with Runway, so then Runway can go build them a model trained on all of the IP and the projects they own. But that's, I think, where we're going to be going, is you'll see a lot of studios partnering with AI companies to build models trained on their projects, and then other companies building out essentially what they'll call clean models, built on data that they entirely own. But I think right now, like any kind of beginning stage, it's very much Wild West. And so I have no doubt like there will be some form of, regulations, things, this, and it'll all like eventually come into like an evened out point, and I don't think it'll affect it in any way. I think also just like with how the models are developing, we're going to have a point where they're just, like I said, in 2 or 3 years, everything's just going to be so polished and so designed that you're going to be able to say whatever you want to say from the weirdest fathom of your head, and it's going to be able to create it. And so like, yeah, it was probably maybe trained on something that existed before, but it's like that didn't exist before. It's just taking from all these things in order for the machine to then figure out like what you're trying to tell it and create that. So it's still creating something out of nothing.
Yeah, thank you. So isn't it crazy how quickly these things evolve? I mean, you've been just saying like talking about the evolution of the tools. I mean, it's not so long ago that we were facing issues like to create hands with 5 fingers, something like that. And
Yeah.
today we are.
Yeah. I remember having to go into Photoshop and I'm like, I got like an 8-fingered person. I'm like, all right, let's get rid of these 3 fingers.
Yeah, at the same time, I think it's a pity that these hallucinations are getting less and less, because I thought they also had their charm in some way to get this crazy stuff coming out of Midjourney and all those tools.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy when I look at like the first video I put out in 2024 and the last video I put out in 2024, and they're night and day in the sense of like a quality, everything. I'm just like, wow, like I can't believe that it went that fast to go from, I mean, the first video, it looks like it doesn't even really look like, and back then I was so excited for it. I was like, look at how good this looks. Look at the movement. And now I look at it, I was like, is anything even moving? Like, is anything even happening right now? So, and I'm sure we're going to have that exact same feeling a year from this moment now, where we're going to be, I mean, I think that one's going to be even an even bigger leap, where we're going to look back at the stuff right now and be like, holy crap, I can't believe we thought that was good. Like, it's just because like, that's how fast it's just going to continue to move.
Yeah, this is it's amazing. I think I wouldn't have expected this to be that fast. Do you have? I think you're in some creator programs. So do you have some insight like on new development, or how does this work? Like, do you see things a bit more early, and do you also have one thing that would be super interesting for me is like, do you also give feedback? Like, do these companies also listen to the artists in order to learn how to develop the tools?
Yeah, for sure. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm in Runways, Lumas, Kling, Minimax. So like I had gotten access to Kling 1.6, I think the 2 days before it came out. But at that point I was already, getting ready for holiday. So I wasn't able to like hop on it to start messing with it and everything. With Runway, it's really cool. They've got their Discord channel for the creative partners program, and all the creative partners in there share their works, their workflows. They mention to Runway what they like, what they don't like. And right, like when I posted the most recent video we did, that Time Vice, and I was like, I used Runway Act 1 for this, they immediately get back to you and they're like, that's awesome. They're like, that's awesome. Is there things we can do to improve on it? Like, what can we do that would make this even better for you? So they're always curious, and they always want to like, figure out ways to push the envelope further with their tools, and just make them, I think, more user friendly, and deliver the best results, and just continuously improve on results. So
That's
yeah, I mean,
amazing.
it's all around, like both outside of the artists in the community, the tools, and the people behind the companies that run those tools. I mean, everyone is incredibly, they're all so awesome. They're also about it. They're also caring. So it's like I said, it's to me, it's the most special community of any form of creativity that I've ever been a part of in my life.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of this famous quote: "We shape our tools, and the tools shape us." So, in some way, you're shaping the tools here, right? So this is great that they are listening, and that you have some influence on how things are going. So we've been talking for a while now. I think we should also have a look at the chat. So if our listeners have any questions to you, I think it would be
No, let's
perfect
fire
time
away.
the perfect time to drop it. In the meantime, while they are thinking, I would like to ask you if you have any advice for upcoming artists, like if someone wants to explore the field or build an artistic name. What would be your advice to start with?
I mean, I think it's, well, first and foremost, just dive in. It's like, sometimes to learn to swim, you just got to jump in and start moving your arms, and hope just to float and swim, So I think, like, getting involved in the tools. That's what I always tell my friends is just start playing with the tools, start getting to know them, because the more you get to know them, the easier they become. And then if like you want to do like photo, find like a photo tool, whether that's Mid Journey or Flux or any of the others that are out there. And then you could go like Korea. I think is especially like if you're first starting is great, because they've made partnerships with all the tools. So it's like kind of an all-in-one shop. So you can just kind of get a subscription with Korea, and then start going to town, start messing with Runway, start messing with Minimax and Kling. But I think the main thing is just like have fun. You want to have fun with it, and just go and create. And if it's not you feel like it's not the best thing you've ever made right out the gate, that's okay. It's just you just keep going, and you just try to make it the best that you can. But understanding it probably won't be the best your very first time, and then as you continue to do it, within especially with AI, it goes the same way with when you're doing this stuff. Within 2 or 3 months, you're going to be a pro, and you're gonna be like, oh wow, like look at it compared to like how I started. This is insane. This looks so much better. And you just keep going and going, and then your workflows will evolve, and you'll continuously get better, and you'll lock into, I think, like a rhythm and a flow. But and as anyone knows in this space, that rhythm and flow is always changing, because the tools are always changing. So
Yeah. So there are two things you said before that I really take away for me. As like the first thing you said is don't do what you think people might like, but do what you have on your head, and then find out if people like it or not. So you basically you
yeah,
create it for yourself and not for others. I think that is I really love that idea. And the other thing is, like you said, you want to do the best possible quality for the time being. So there's also huge passion element inside that. So I think it's really something I want to take away from this
yeah.
talk for myself.
I mean, the quality thing for me is like always been like kind of a driving factor of how we, like me and the guys that when we work on this stuff, like all three of us really work really hard on maintaining that. So there's times where, if we have to gen something, I mean, when we worked on this last project, one of the characters, and that's why I was so excited with Kling 1.6, is seeing the characters like specifically like with something like a sword or martial arts and stuff like that, and seeing like how much better the movement looks now. It's incredible. On one of the shots with the character with the sword, I mean, we had to gen that shot. I think we genned it like 76 times in Kling before we finally were like, we had one where we were like, yeah, that's good. Like that's good. Like, but all the others, we'd have some where they're okay, but it looks like not the best. It's not the worst. And so, we don't like to settle for those kind of things. So we just keep running it and keep fiddling with the prompt and keep messing with it until, you get the output that you're happy with.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. So I had a quick look in the chat, and I didn't see any new questions, but I think people can also, like, when they watch the video recording, I will upload it afterwards. So if you have any
Cool.
questions while watching this recording afterwards, just drop it in the comments. And I think from time to time, now you're first on Christmas vacation and not.
I'll try and pop in there when I can, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you said before you promised to keep to get away from the computer, so I think it's not that super.
I'm trying. Yeah.
Urgent, but maybe from time to time you can have a look. And yeah, so thank you very much for joining this call.
Of
I'm
course. Thank
super
you so
happy.
much for having me. It was a blast. And like I got the magazine the other day. I didn't get a chance when I get home and to take a picture with it and everything. It's absolutely stunning. Like
Thank you so
my
much.
jaw dropped on the floor. I couldn't believe the quality, like the way it feels in your hands, everything, the pictures, and all of the artists that you guys selected and curated. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible.
Thank you so
Like,
much. I'm so proud to hear that.
yeah, I mean, massive fan of the work and like what you guys are doing for the community and everything. I think it's just one of the most amazing things.
Thank you so much. I will pass it to the team. I mean, you know, there's always a big team behind
Oh
work like
yeah,
that, and I think they will all be super happy to hear that. Thank you so much. Thanks
of
for your
course.
time, and
Yep.
yeah, have a nice festive period.
Thank you. You as well. Take care.